Hi, welcome back to the channel. Normally, when I'm preparing a video for here, I want to ensure there's at least one nugget of information that you can pull out that can apply to your personal finance knowledge here in Canada. Today is a little bit more fun focused. I'm very close to monetizing the channel. I need to get to 1,000 subscribers. That's a big milestone for me. It's been a goal of mine since we started. So if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing or sharing with someone who might. Like I said, this video though is a little bit more on the fun side. I realized not too long ago I was watching the show The Simpsons that when The Simpsons was designed, they were designed as a relatable family, and I just don't think that really is a relatable scenario anymore. So I wanted to do a how much does Homer Simpson make Canadian edition video. So let's get into it. Back in 1989, when The Simpsons was created, they were designed to be a very relatable couple. And in particular here in Canada, I don't think that their situation is very relatable anymore. So that's why I wanted to break down the numbers. Here are the parameters that I'm going to be using. It's going to be a single income household, just like Homer and Marge are. They have a detached 4-bedroom house. They have 2 cars. I'm going to assume that one is fully paid off, whether they have a $600 a month payment on the other car. I'm going to assume that they're spending $5,000 a month in all kinds of other things, right? That's everything from groceries to eating out to saxophone lessons for Lisa. And I'm going to assume they have a properly balanced budget and they're investing $1,500 a month as well. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to break this out into 3 different price points in 3 different provinces, because that'll also bring in a little bit of a comparison of our different tax systems across the country. And I found something very fascinating that you're going to have to wait until the very end for. So the 3 cities I'm comparing here are Winnipeg, Calgary, and Toronto. So let's get into the actual breakdown of the houses here. So this is what I did for my actual search for houses. And I forgot to mention that I'm going to assume they have a 20% down payment on their house. This is probably their second house. Homer is believed to be somewhere between 36 and 40 years old, depending on the reference in the season. And so being that I'm also in that age bracket, which is terrifying to think about, that's usually where people are in kind of their second house. So I'm assuming they have a 20% down payment. Now, here's the list of the Winnipeg houses. So what I did is I went to realtor.ca, I searched Winnipeg proper, like the actual city limits, 4-bedroom, fully detached house, and I picked 10 random houses scattered across the city, so I didn't create any biases based on certain neighborhoods. And then I removed the most expensive, and I removed the least expensive to create my average, which is $607,000 in Winnipeg. Here's my Calgary list, which has the average price of $760,000. And here's my Toronto list with an average price of $1.7 million for this type of house. What I also found very interesting is the relationship between the average house price, which I pulled in a previous video from February of 2024, to this house is a lot different, right? The average price in Winnipeg was about $360,000. Here it's $607,000. So it's almost double. Whereas in Calgary, for example, the average price is about $550,000. And here the average price for a Homer Simpson house is $760,000, only about 50% more. So you can start to see how some of the markets have probably a lot more range in pricing. So I found that very interesting as well. But let's get a little further into the numbers. We're going to start on the lower end and we're going to build our way up to Toronto. So here's the Winnipeg numbers. Average sale price of Homer and Marge's house is $607,000, meaning after their 20% down payment, their mortgage is just a hair under $486,000. In all examples, I'm going to assume a 5% mortgage rate, meaning that their payment here in Winnipeg is $2,840. We then add their $600 a month car payment and their $5,000 per year property tax bill, meaning that their fixed costs work out to $3,857 per month if I break that property bill out evenly. If we then add the $5,000 of other spending, again, groceries, eating out, entertainment, saxophone lessons, and the $1,500 of investing, this might be a little bit more than the average person would spend. I'm kind of realizing as I'm talking here that property tax would probably be built into that $5,000, so I'm exaggerating this a little bit unintentionally. That means that the monthly net needed by Homer in Winnipeg for that lifestyle is $10,350 or $124,284 per year, meaning that in the provincial mixed with federal tax system of Manitoba, he would have to be making $188,000 to make his lifestyle work here in Winnipeg. That's a lot of money. This is where it gets super, super interesting though when I shift to Calgary. So let's do that. Here are the Calgary numbers. $760,000 purchase price. $607,000 mortgage, because again, I have that 20% withdrawn, meaning that the mortgage payment is $35.50 per month. That's an increase over Winnipeg, obviously. Same car payment, but property taxes, I've noticed when I was going through this, are a lot lower in Calgary compared to Winnipeg, and certainly compared to Toronto. Toronto's are very high. I've had a few clients mention that theirs are increasing at a very, very high rate right now, meaning that the net take home that Homer would need in Calgary is $10,980, whereas in Winnipeg it was $10,300. But because of the way the tax system works in Alberta, instead of needing $188,000 like you would here in Winnipeg, Homer only needs $187,000 in Alberta only. It's still obviously a very, very large income, but you're getting a $150,000 more expensive house and you need $1,000 less income per year. I did not see that coming when I started to do the research for this video, and it genuinely has me rethinking why I'm living in Winnipeg as opposed to a place like Calgary. Obviously, I'm not leaving Winnipeg. My family's here. I'm anchored here deeply now. But wow, like the Calgary market is very, very appealing. All right, let's go to the Toronto market now. Now, this is the one that, of course, was really making me nervous. And for anyone who's watching this in Toronto, I feel so bad for you to have to be in this housing market. Looking through all of these listings, which I did just out of curiosity, the amount more house you can buy in a Calgary or Winnipeg is absolutely astonishing. But let's go through the numbers. Average price, $1.7 million, meaning that the mortgage after the 20% down payment is $1.37 million, meaning that the mortgage payment for a Toronto Homer Simpson is $8,044 per month. That is only $2,000 less than the total amount needed for someone in a Winnipeg or a Calgary. Same $600 a month car payment. Your property taxes I have at $5,800 here. I think that's actually pretty light from some of them that I looked at. Some of them were up in the $10,000, $11,000 a year. Your property taxes are very, very high there. I also understand from my assistant who lives in the Niagara region that your car insurance is significantly more expensive. I didn't have time to research that before doing this. So maybe if you are watching and you're in Ontario, you could comment below about how your car insurance works, because my understanding is it's possibly even triple what it is here in Manitoba. Anyways, back to the numbers, meaning that in Toronto, Homer would need to be bringing $15,600 home per month net. It's $187,000 net. That requires a $310,000 income in Toronto to make the Homer Simpson lifestyle work. That is absolutely astonishing to me. And I get when you have family in a city like this, you are rooted to it. That's exactly what I was just saying, right? In Winnipeg, I'm rooted here. But man, oh man, if you look at this, if you are in a situation where you're going to be retiring in the next few years and you have the opportunity to sell in Toronto and it won't disrupt your lifestyle too much to move to a Calgary, like I'm not even advocating for Winnipeg, although Winnipeg's getting better and better, and we have a hockey team that chokes in the playoffs now. So I mean, we got you covered if you're in Toronto. So just looking at this, I'm like, get out of there. Pull your equity if it's possible and move to a less expensive, still beautiful city like a Calgary again, something like that. So just this absolutely fascinates me. What I want to do is I want to take this one step further though, and I want to kind of use a reverse inflation calculator to see what this actually meant back for 1989. All right, so this is the Bank of Canada's inflation calculator, and I can actually choose which direction I go. I can either start with the 1989 and go to the future, or I can go the other way. And with this, I can actually calculate exactly what $188,000 in today's world would have looked like back in 1989. And it's $86,588, which in 2024, I can see someone in that job, a safety inspector at a nuclear power plant, making like a 90 to 100. So like by today's standard, it seems pretty on par. Back then, I doubt he was making that much. But when we punch in that Toronto figure of 310,000, it's 142,000. There's no way Homer was making 142,000 back in 1989. The show would not have been relatable or anything like that. Now, bit of an asterisk here. Springfield is clearly not a big city like Toronto. It's more of a small town, so it's much more in line with like a Winnipeg, I believe, anyways. But either way, that's what the numbers inflate back to in 1989. All right, so that was just a little bit of fun I wanted to have. I found this really, really interesting. I was absolutely blown away how much further your dollar goes in a Calgary when compared to something like a Winnipeg. I don't know necessarily how this would fit to your financial plan, but if you're looking to retire and your house equity is there and it's something that you want to start exploring how to maybe use, or you want to be looking at how you can bring that into your financial plan, there'll be a link in the description down below that'll come directly to me, and we can take a look at that together. Until next time, keep planning.